We're live in Homestead. We're live in Quincy.
Manchester, New Hampshire.
Continue to follow breaking news.
We're getting some new details.
The most accurate forecast.
We've got to give you an update.
What is up, everybody? Thanks so much for stopping by the LX News Zone. I'm your host, Jo Beth DeVera, and guess what? It is the first day of March. Yes, a new month for us, and personally, my favorite month. For the next hour, I'm going to be taking you all around the country, guys, to check out some of the biggest stories affecting our local communities, and we're going to make stops in the cities that you see right behind me, over in Chicago, down south in Dallas-Fort Worth area, and then out on the West Coast from San Diego, LA to the Bay. And as always, follow along with us with our News Zone rundown on the right side of your screen. Our first stop today is actually in LA. All the snow there is causing people living in the mountains out of their homes for some days now, while others are still stranded with limited supplies. We're going to show you how the community there is trying to help. But first, our NBCLA team takes us to an avalanche that's blocking the road in Mount Baldy.
Looking at here is Mount Baldy, just from Mount Baldy Road. I'm at the position right now is actually north of the tunnels on Mount Baldy Road, which is just north of Upland, the city of Upland. There was an avalanche here during the overnight hours. The location where it actually occurred is just north of Ice House Canyon, south of the ski resort. CHP just told me that the avalanche has blocked most of Mount Baldy Road near the switchbacks. No injuries were reported, but San Bernardino County is actually sending some heavy machinery to help clear the road. Right now, the ski resort is closed. Mount Baldy Village is closed. So if you're trying to head up to the village to play in the snow, CHP is telling me to have our viewers stay off the mountain, to make sure they don't come up here, even with chains. They don't want anybody up here because they want to try to get that machinery up here as soon as possible. Right now, there's no ETA of when they're going to clear this road. But the good thing, once again, to report is that no residents were injured, and the avalanche occurred where no homes were actually located.
All right, Alex, we will keep a very close eye on that. We appreciate it. We want to move on now. All of that heavy snow has kept some people living in the mountains out of their homes for days. Others are stranded with little to no supplies. NBC4's Lauren Coronado live in San Bernardino with an update for us. Lauren, good morning.
Michael, good morning. We were at the base of the 18 this morning where there was a line of cars trying to make it up the mountain. Unfortunately, they had to cut those escorts short because of bad weather. And like you said, you're either stuck off the mountain if you live in those San Bernardino County mountain communities, or you're snowed in. Local leaders today say they're here to help.
When I get up there, I'm not going to be able to drive to my house. I need to park somewhere locally and basically walk however long it takes through 4 feet of snow to get to the house. And once I do, I have the equipment there that I can clear my house, clear my deck, and then once that's done, I'll probably clear my street so that way at least my neighbors can get out.
Yeah, that was one person who was at the base of the 18 waiting to make it back up to Lake Arrowhead. Now, San Bernardino County leaders sharing an update on their response to this historic winter storm. Sheriff's deputies have been delivering food and medicine to those in need and trapped in their homes. The county is coordinating with grocery and fuel partners to support stores and gas stations. We understand 17 successful search and rescue operations have been conducted in the San Bernardino County mountains. Emergency crews now responding to calls about collapsed roofs, too much weight from the snow. Thankfully, no deaths or injuries have been reported. CHP and Caltrans are still working to get folks up the mountain and back home. They had to stop escorts at the 18 and 3:30 early this morning because of bad weather. Some people again now waiting for the next round of escorts planned for tonight between 5 and 9 p.m. The county vowing their support. Yeah, the county is under a local emergency, so we understand that they are getting more resources from the state. In fact, they say that they are getting more help in clearing county highways and some of the residential streets, too, because like you heard from that person who lives in the Lake Arrowhead area right now, as he returns home, he's going to be faced with up to 4 feet or more of snow surrounding his home. So that is just the reality of the situation for folks in those local mountain communities. Of course, we are keeping a close eye on this, and we will continue to keep you updated. I also want to mention, if you live in the San Bernardino County mountains, there is a 24-hour emergency hotline number. I want to read that off for you. It's 909-387-3911.
Meanwhile, crews in Brentwood are working to clear this large tree from this neighborhood. It came crashing down after days of wind and rain. NBC4's Michelle Weiss is there now. Michelle, set the scene for us.
Well, what a morning it has been. This happened in the vice president's Brentwood neighborhood. In fact, in front of a few houses from where she lives. The saturated earth, Michael, has had it. As one neighbor told me, nothing animate was hit. We can tell you nothing inanimate was hit either. That's right. It was a clean fall as far as falls go. The tree fell and the fence protected it from further damage to the house behind it. It was just after 7 a.m. This massive, what looks like an evergreen tree, maybe from the 40s, came crashing down, blocking the entire 400 block of Kenter Avenue here in Brentwood, taking power and cable lines with it. The gas was also shut off for a wee bit. For that reason, the power on the block here is out. Tree crews really made fast work, though, whipping out their chainsaws. LADWP safely waiting for them to let that happen so they could get to work. We met one woman who's from Vermont who, wow, was excited to see all this commotion here in the neighborhood.
We were having our lovely walk, and then we saw that water and power trucks were making a appearance. And so we see this a lot on my dirt road in Vermont.
Yeah, that's Glennis from Vermont who's visiting. She says investing in a generator saved her marriage. She says people in L.A. should think about that. This morning we were over Mulholland Drive where an active mudslide was oozing, Michael, from the early morning rain. It's shut down 2.5 miles on Mulholland on Cold Water Canyon to Deepwater. It is still shut down. That area has been pushing out over the last few days. Fire crews have been working alongside with geologists, engineers, and grading specialists to see what the next steps are. Captain Scott didn't give me a timeline as to when the road would open, but there is a lot of work to be done, and he was really hoping that maybe after this system of rain passes, they can open up the road. I'm not one of those people who's a big fan of the sunshine, but I could tell you right now, I am loving it. This is what we desperately need to restore and clean up from this massive storm. In Brentwood, Michelle Vias, NBC4 News. Back to you.
And I learned the secret to a happy marriage, a generator. All right, Michelle, appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Invest, Michael. Get one.
Maybe two. All right. Want to head on over now to Northridge, where a massive tree knocked the power out for an entire neighborhood. Many of the people who live there haven't been able to leave that area. Cleanup crews have been working all morning long to clear parts of the tree. NBC4's Bailey Miller live with all the sights and sounds for us. Bailey, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Michael. Yeah, it's been quite the night and the morning for neighbors here on McLennan and Northridge. Take a look what I'm standing in front of. You can see this massive tree came down. Look over here. You can see the root system, and then you can see even the brick wall came out here. Now, I also want to walk you how along this tree. You could just see how big this is because we're still walking right now. You can see the branches in the street here. This is what cleanup crews have been working on, and now you can see the street is open here. Cars are actually able to get through here now only in the last maybe half hour or so. So a lot of neighbors have been trapped here. But take a look. You can see where this tree landed on top of this car. You can see the damage here and how extensive that is. But a lot of neighbors this morning saying it could have been a lot worse because you can just see how massive this tree is. It's about 80 feet tall. Now, neighbors told me it all came down at around 11:30 last night. It did also knock down the power to the power lines here. So they've been without power all morning, about 15 houses up this way. But they are very happy they're able to drive through now because a lot of them haven't been able to get to work and the kids on the street haven't been able to get to school. Take a listen to what one neighbor had to say of how loud the crash was.
All we heard just a big crash and a crackle pop, and we thought maybe a car hit a tree in the neighborhood. Came out, neighbors are out with flashlights and like, all right, power's out, something bad happened around here. And it was not until this morning when we came out and just saw the tree right across the street.
Now, this neighbor that I spoke with, he works from home. He says he's just working on what's left of the battery on his phone to get him through his work meetings this morning. So hoping that power gets back up soon. He says it's expected to be up later this afternoon, maybe this evening. But I will say it's been quite an exciting morning for a lot of these neighbors. They've been out and about talking, taking a look at the tree. And it's just pretty incredible to see how big this is. Crews have been out here all morning and they're just happy now the road is back open. open.
Joining us now live on the phone is Eric Sherwin with the San Bernardino County Fire Department. Thanks for being with us here.
Yes, thanks for having me.
I want to get straight to it. Let's talk about the latest on the situation. Explain to us what's happening.
Over the Mount Baldy area since Friday, we've received totals pushing 10 feet of snow. Considering the topography of the mountains in that area, avalanches have been occurring. It is an ongoing threat and a threat that will persist throughout that region for the foreseeable future.
Let's talk about your message.
This is the first slide.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
This
Didn't mean to interrupt.
This is the first slide we've had that's actually impacted the infrastructure, namely Mount Baldy Road. So as you heard earlier, we're working with County Roads and Caltrans to get equipment into the area to clear that road so that we can maintain supporting the infrastructure and the residents in the Mount Baldy area.
What is your message to those living in the area at this point?
For those living in the area is to continue to shelter in place. Stay tuned to local media stations and social media for current and expected weather. We know that we can expect additional snowfall accumulations through about sunset tonight, and then we will continue to do our best to restore these roads and infrastructure as we move through this.
All right, speaking of people helping out, it looks like Foo Fighters music legend Dave Grohl took the opportunity to haul his barbecue smoker down to an LA shelter to help dish out meals to hundreds of people in the middle of that unrelenting storm last week. You could check out that story and the video posted on NBCLA.com. We'll be right back after a quick 45-second break. Sit tight. Hey, thanks for sticking around with LX News Zone. Now we're actually going to take you to Chicago, where another election day has come and gone, but the results of at least a dozen races, along with who will become the next mayor of Chicago, are far from final. What we do know, though, is that Lori Lightfoot is the first Chicago mayor in 40 years to lose re-election, ending her historic run as the city's first Black woman and first openly gay person to serve in that position. Now it's between Paul Valles and Brandon Johnson, who are vying for that mayor's seat. And as NBC Chicago's Kai Martin reports, the two will face each other in a runoff on April 4th.
With that runoff less than 5 weeks away, there really is no time to waste for either candidate. Let's get you the numbers that came in last night. Former head of Chicago Public Schools, Paul Valles, got 33.8% of the vote, with Cook County Commissioner Brandon Johnson snagging 20.3%. Both have very influential union backing, Valles from the Fraternal Order of Police and Johnson from the Chicago Teachers Union. Johnson says he is no longer looking at a commuter tax for suburbanites taking the train into Chicago for work, but he told me he will look for companies to pay up.
As far as the corporate head tax is concerned, it's been on the books before. We have to get our fiscal house in order, of course, and I'm the only person to present a balanced budget plan that speaks exactly to eliminating the debt that he created, while also making critical investments without raising property taxes.
My pledge to you is that I'm running for mayor to be the mayor of all Chicago. When people tell me that this used to be the city that works and it doesn't work anymore, I'll tell you, this city has never really been the city that works for everyone. But it will be when I am mayor.
Yet Brandon Johnson called Valles divisive and claims he is the candidate who plays well with others. Now, Marion, Valles has an event at 12:30 this afternoon. We are looking for his fresh thoughts on his opponent, and we will have that for you starting at 4 o'clock. For now, we're live outside City Hall. I'm Kai Martin, NBC5 News.
The campaign has kicked off in earnest. There's no doubt about it. Thanks so much, Kai. We appreciate it. Incumbent Mayor Lori Lightfoot finished third place behind Valles and Johnson. In her concession speech last night, the mayor touted her accomplishments, navigating the pandemic, investing in the South and West Sides, and trying to make Chicago streets safer. Lightfoot says she called both Valles and Johnson to wish them well.
We were fierce competitors in these last few months, but I will be rooting and praying for our next mayor to deliver for the people of the city for years to come.
You're a class act, mate.
Thank you.
It's a little bit disappointing, but it's democracy. And people went out, they voted. They voted for the person that they think could move the city forward in the vision that they want.
Mayor Lightfoot is the first incumbent in 40 years to be denied a second term.
New on the ballot this year, 22 police district councils. 3 councilors for each district will serve 4-year terms. They were created to build stronger connections between police and the community, holding monthly public meetings and weighing in on police department policies and practices.
And for the first time, a Latina woman will represent the 14th ward on the city's southwest side. Jayla Gutierrez just won Ed Burke's former seat, the one that he's held for decades. Gutierrez migrated from Mexico 15 years ago. This morning, she told us she looks forward to serving her community.
There's parks, libraries, and schools, right, that need work to get done. You look at the business corridors, a lot of storefronts are closed. Safety, of course, is an issue. So we need just to work together and make sure that we bring everybody to the table, we're accessible, transparent, and that we do a better job.
Gutierrez held 65% of the vote to candidate Raul Reyes' 35%.
Now, turnout was enthusiastic for early voting, but on Election Day itself, the Chicago Board of Elections says turnout was slow. There were just under 508,000 votes cast in the election. That's about a 32% voter turnout, roughly equal to what it's been over the last several elections. There are still about 99,000 vote-by-mail ballots outstanding, however, and those ballots will be processed and counted if they are returned through the weekend. And with so many outstanding votes, there are still some races that could be decided in the next few days.
These vote-by-mail ballots are going to be very important for the local alderperson races. These races come down to about double digits, single digits. So I have a feeling that for some of these races that are pretty close, they're going to want to see every vote counted. And we've got until March 14th to do that.
The Board of Elections wants to get the official proclamation of this race complete by mid-March so that ballots can be printed for the runoff election and then early voting can begin. Of course, for a complete wrap-up of election results for every race, go to our website, NBCChicago.com. We also have full breakdowns of each ward and the results of the aldermanic races. Several of those appear to be headed for runoffs right now. You can also get results anytime on the NBC Chicago app.
It's the end of an era for the Chicago Blackhawks. Patrick Kane has been traded to the New York Rangers. He's expected to take the ice for the Rangers tonight. Kane was part of a 3-team trade. He leaves as arguably the best Blackhawk ever, leading the team to 3 Stanley Cups in 6 years. He signed with the Hawks when he was just 18 years old. 16 years later, he's now moving on. In a statement, Kane said that he is thankful for the city, the Blackhawks, his teammates, and fans. He also said, quote, "It is bittersweet to leave a place that is so special to me, but I will always carry the memories we made in Chicago." Now to a developing story out of Atlanta. A college baseball player and Chicago native was shot and killed near the AUC Catholic Center. The player was identified as Jaton Sterling, a sophomore at Clark Atlanta University. He was once part of the Show Baseball, a travel team from Chicago's South Side. Atlanta police have few details about why Sterling was shot and killed. No motive at this point. No one is in custody. And an armored truck security driver was shot yesterday in broad daylight in the West Chatham neighborhood. Chicago police say the 38-year-old was struck in his bulletproof vest by someone in a light-colored vehicle. The guard got into the truck and drove to Roseland Hospital for treatment himself. The FBI says it needs your help to identify 4 suspects.
Ultimately 4 individuals, at least 3 of whom exited the vehicle. That is a lot of people for an incident like this.
It's just sad. Thank God did nobody get hurt. You know, thank God that the security officer lived.
They did not make off with any money, so that is perhaps one bright side in this terrible situation.
If you have any information about this incident, please call the FBI at 1-800-CALL-FBI.
Burglars have broken into almost a dozen River North restaurants last month. Here's a map of where those burglaries happened. These are all just since February 18th. The latest incident happened early Monday morning near Clark and Illinois. The day before that, police say 5 restaurants were robbed when someone either pushed through the door or broke a glass door to get in. Local chefs say this comes at an unfortunate time, just as they're getting back on their feet after the pandemic.
pandemic had put a hurting on us so bad, and we don't need anything else to discourage the business to leave.
The Chicago police, you can see the damage here. They say any broken windows or doors should be repaired quickly. Well, for more than 100 years, Ada S. McKinley Community Services has been supporting families on Chicago's South Side.
Now the organization is expanding its mission again to improve mental health services for children and families. Here's health and wellness reporter Lauren Petty.
Walking through the halls at Ada S. McKinley Community Services.
We are an agency that's well over a century-year-old.
You'll hear stories of how the nonprofit has helped countless families.
She did her therapy. She's fine. She's a new child.
Founded by Ada S. McKinley, a school teacher in 1919 during the Spanish flu pandemic, the community organization has continuously helped Southside families now through the coronavirus pandemic.
We're excited about this reset we're doing with behavioral health, and it's because the issues the community had 100 years ago are still there.
The agency was started to support Black World War I veterans and their families migrating from the South. Even decades later, many of those same basic needs Ada identified remain.
Anytime you see violence, poverty, it's based on trauma. There's trauma in the family, trauma in the community. And so this program in particular is going to allow us more resources to provide the support that they need.
Named a care coordinator for the state's Pathways to Success program, Ada is looking to hire more mental health professionals to help kids and their families.
We're looking for people who are invested in the community. So you could throw a lot of money into programs, but if you're not doing the work in the trenches, case by case, you won't see outcomes.
When fights over access to social media escalated between Latasha Jones and her 13-year-old daughter, her daughter's school recommended Ada for counseling.
I'm not doing it, I'm not doing it. I don't need help, and I was wrong, very wrong. I actually love therapy.
The pair is much closer now.
Her attitude, my attitude, we were not both listening to each other at all. And that's all it was, communication.
This is a need that we have seen well over many years. We have been doing this, so this has been a push that we have identified the youth in crisis.
People in these communities that are marginalized deserve the same level of counseling, same professionalism that any other community or level of society or privilege. And that's what we intend to provide.
Lauren Petty, NBC5 News.
Brace yourselves. It's going to be rough. IDOT is about to begin a major construction project that's expected to last 3 years and take out 2 lanes at a time. The first phase of construction starts Monday, March 20th. The $150 million project focuses on the 7-mile stretch between the Edens Junction and Ohio. That's that 7-mile stretch that couldn't get much worse, right? Construction begins on the inbound side. 2 left lanes will be blocked later on this month, and the express lanes will stay open inbound to try to ease some of that traffic congestion.
For more stories about local changemakers, keep watching LX News.
Welcome back to the LX News Zone. I'm Jo Beth DeVera. We're going to head down south now to Dallas, where our NBC team is following a number of stories in North Texas, including the search for a person who shot a 4-year-old and a woman at an apartment complex. Plus, one community is complaining about crime they believe is stemming from some short-term rental properties in their neighborhood. But first, DFW is a bit drenched after a storm system swept in with heavy rain and hail.
That is what it looked and sounded like just hours ago in Burleson. NBC5 viewer Kent captured the moment an intense hailstorm hit his house. People living about an hour west from there also saw a lot of hail. Look at the size of those stones in this picture that we got from Sue, who lives in Granbury. And then there was the lightning that the storm brought with it. Check this shot out. My gosh. Chantel captured this incredible picture of a lightning strike where she lives in Cedar Hill.
So we're drying out for now in downtown Dallas, but as you heard Kevin say, there's the possibility of more rain at some points today. So it looks like the month of March, as they say, has come in like a lion. So let's take a look at some of the things that we saw across North Texas. Take a look, first of all, these downpours, rain, and impressive amounts of hail coming in from Cedar Hill. Neighbors waking up to find the ground covered in hail pellets. Same case over in Tarrant County. Take a look at this video from a viewer. This was the morning hail in the Arlington and Mansfield areas. And of course, we got similar reports from different points around the region throughout the morning. Over in Red Oak, the sky absolutely just opening up, dumping rain for most of the morning, making for a little bit of a difficult morning commute. And speaking of the commute, in downtown Dallas, this was the mess we saw. Heavy rain made for some tricky driving. We saw an accident in the middle of the storm as everything was moving through. This came with downpours, lots of lightning, and it is probably safe to say the weather played a pretty big role in some of the accidents that we saw. Again, we're enjoying this respite that we have from the weather right now, nice and dry, but we are bracing for possibly more rain today, and then again the possibility of some severe weather tomorrow. Live in Dallas, Larry Collins, NBC5.
Okay, good to see you drying out, Larry. Thank you. So with the possibility of more severe weather on the way, stay weather aware with our free NBC DFW app. Right now, police in Louisville are looking for the person who shot a 4-year-old child and a woman. The shooting happened last night at an apartment complex off Highway 121. Witnesses at the scene told police there was a connection between the child, the woman, and the suspect. Police in Dallas, meanwhile, are investigating the death of a teenager. That teenager died at a hospital after being shot last night at an apartment complex near Skillman and Walnut Hill. Police have not made any arrests. A shooting Sunday morning in Plano sent stray bullets flying into a nearby home with a 3-year-old in it. Residents say gunfire broke out among people attending a party at a short-term rental on the block, and they want change to the city's rental plan. Maya Taylor with the Dallas Morning News is with us now to talk about this issue. Maya, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Let's start with the basic here. What are short-term rentals? I'm assuming things like Vrbo, and what problems are they causing?
Right. So, yeah, short-term rentals are residential properties rented out for 30 days or less through, platforms like Airbnb and Vrbo. The property connected to the shooting was listed on both platforms, but the bookings were made through Vrbo. Over the weekend. They've caused all sorts of problems as far as trash, noise, loss of community, and even last September. Pretty serious issue.
Council members to respond to this issue.
Yeah, so many residents are fed up, honestly. At the council meeting on Monday night, a lot of them were tearful, angry. They've been working on this for over a year. A group of community members started something called the Texas Neighborhood Coalition, and there's a Plano chapter. They're kind of rallying for city council to adopt ordinances that are similar to those in Arlington, where short-term rentals can only operate in certain zones and they have to have a permit and follow other regulations. Obviously, Plano's set up differently, but they're just kind of hoping that they follow that same template.
Yeah, exactly. We also saw City of Fort Worth go forward with a short-term rental ordinance. So when it comes to Plano, you say they've been working on it for about a year. What progress has the council made in developing a solution to this?
Right. So after a lot of the residents spoke on Monday night, Plano's Mayor John Munns apologized to them and said that they'll be discussing the issue at their first meeting in April. But back in January, the city gave updates that they had started reaching out to other cities to collect data. And they're also they've started developing a registration process for the short-term rental properties. But the city is kind of moving cautiously because other cities, Austin, for example, have faced some legal challenges whenever they have tried to regulate the short-term rentals. It's really just about property rights versus the rights of the people living in the neighborhood. So they have to be very careful in how they craft their ordinances. But they're saying a decision probably won't come until the early part of the summer.
Wow. Okay. Well, the folks there will be waiting and watching. We know, Maya, you'll be watching it too. Thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
You can read more of Maya's work right now on dallasnews.com. Pandemic-era boost to SNAP benefits ended at midnight, and it means hundreds of thousands of North Texas families are getting less money for food at a time when inflation is at a record high. Earlier today, NBC5's Larry Collins was at the North Texas Food Bank to bring us the story.
Let's start with the good news, right? The food is here, the donations, they're still coming in to the North Texas Food Bank. And they say that's for the best because they do expect to see an influx of people needing just a little bit of help because of the changes to the SNAP benefits.
So of the 225,000 households and 500,000 individuals receiving SNAP in the North Texas Food Bank service area, it'll roughly be a decrease of $48 million in benefits from February to March.
But as shocking as those numbers are, when you think about the actual impact to families in their homes, it means some tough decisions, lean times, where to spend limited money, childcare, rent, utilities, healthcare, and even transportation needs. Starting this morning, nearly 2 million Texans will lose those boosted food stamp benefits as inflation now remains at a near 40-year high. Now, under the emergency SNAP additions, a family of 4 receives a maximum of nearly $940 a month. Now that would drop to $500 a month, slashed in half. The typical SNAP household will see monthly allotments drop by at the very least $95. The benefits kept 4.2 million people out of poverty. It reduced child poverty by 14%. The North Texas Food Bank now has tried to prepare families for this decrease in SNAP. They are working with 400 partners in 13 counties to help fill the gaps. Meanwhile, groups are preparing to offer more food. Families still wondering what happens next.
They came in handy. They really did. The prices are going so high that we need them.
And a little food for thought, if you will. They say the need across North Texas has actually increased. It is greater than it was at the peak of the pandemic. This as more families are now seeing less money coming in to help with food. In Plano, Larry Collins, NBC5.
Thank you, Larry. We may be halfway through the news zone, but we still have more cities to visit. We'll be right back in just 60 seconds.
We're live in Homestead. We're live in Quincy.
Manchester, New Hampshire.
Continue to follow breaking news.
We're getting some new details.
The most accurate forecast.
We've got to give you an update.
Hey friends, you're watching the LX News Zone. I'm Jo Beth DeVera, and so far this hour, we have made stops over in Chicago, in LA, and in Dallas. And now we're gonna go back to California, but head up to the Bay Area. Vice President Kamala Harris is set to visit San Francisco on Friday to attend a roundtable with some Asian American Pacific Islander small businesses. Also, teachers in Oakland, they survived a budget cut. At least for now. We're going to have those details in a little bit. But first, our NBC Bay Area team is covering a case against a local police officer.
Well, just into our newsroom, a judge is delaying a dismissal case against a former San Francisco police officer. NBC Bay Area Sergio Quintana was inside the courtroom as DA Brooke Jenkins, the office officially requested to drop manslaughter charges against that officer. The judge is now moving the case until March 7th. This is to give the Attorney General's office more time to review the case, following a request from Kada O'Neill's family. Back in 2017, officers shot and killed O'Neill. This is during a police chase. The judge's decision follows an early morning demonstration in San Francisco.
No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace!
Moore's aunt spoke at the demonstration and is asking people to remember her nephew amid legal process playing out.
And it's become so political, and the focus has left that a black man was murdered. And he's caught up in a political football. And his life counts. All of our lives count. It shouldn't matter what color our skin is.
Now, in a letter to State Attorney General Rob Bonta, Jenkins called the charges, quote, politically motivated and part of a policy tied to former DA Chesa Boudin. Well, just into our newsroom, Vice President Kamala Harris is set to travel to San Francisco on Friday. She will attend a roundtable with Asian American and Pacific Islander small businesses. Afterwards, Harris is also expected to attend a political fundraiser. Teachers in Oakland have survived a budget cut, at least for now. NBC Bay Area's Bob Riddell is breaking down that new development that we have on the 2 crucial proposals decided by the school district.
The Oakland Unified School Board has voted down 2 proposals that, if passed, would have resulted in teacher layoffs, closed positions, and the mergers of at least 10 schools starting next year. Board Director Mike Hutchinson, who voted in favor for both proposals, argued that the cuts were necessary for a number of reasons. Declining enrollment, 2,000 students gone since the start of COVID. Also, less money expected to be coming in as those COVID funds are expiring. And the money the district has, he says, needs to be spent on retaining teachers. This morning, Director Hutchinson emailed us this, I'm quoting, "I am very disappointed the board did not approve the budget adjustment package. This puts OUSD in a difficult situation in terms of reprioritizing our budget for 23-24. Now, according to Oakland's side, District 1 Director Sam Davis, who abstained from voting on the one budget proposal but said yes to teacher layoffs, said at a town hall earlier this week that Oakland Unified is not in a fiscal crisis, but that the district has to reduce its spending to give the remaining teachers and staffs raises.
Okay, heading down the California coast now to San Diego. We are following the weather there because a winter storm system continues to carry rain and snow into a lot of parts of the state. NBC San Diego's Nicole Gomez first is showing us how things are looking like along the beach.
Ooh, hi, as I am getting blown away here along the coast. I mean, we have been out at this location since before sunrise, before dawn, and the wind is one thing that has been consistent. Take a look at just how much it is whipping here along Mission Beach. You can see just how choppy the waves are this midday. But the rain, though, has kind of come in phases. You might have seen our last report during the live, the morning show. Around 6:30, we had rain. I was drenched, and combined with the winds, there was kind of a break after that. And then about an hour ago, it started raining once again. Now, these back-to-back storms have really saturated the ground, and already this morning, another tree that crashed into the home. Take a look at this new video that we have from Poway. A giant pine tree collapsed onto this 2-story home just before 7 a.m. The homeowner wasn't hurt, but tells us he woke up thinking an earthquake shook his home. The tree came through his bedroom ceiling. Winds weren't too bad this morning in Poway, so the tree roots may have just given way due to the saturated ground. It was a completely different story, though, this morning all along the coast. Gusty winds blew rain sideways, bent palm trees, and made normally peaceful-looking waves look angry and choppy. Now, despite all of the nasty conditions at Mission Beach, we found several women who had one thing in common: honoring their routine to get a workout in, rain or shine.
Oh, that was a commitment I made in January. Was every Wednesday is a beach run day. And so even though this weather is a little crazy today, I still made sure to come out.
We've got to do it anyway. We have to stay on our routine.
Today, mental health. It's under a big spotlight. Mayor Todd Gloria joining state leaders up in Sacramento announcing a bill that hopes to modernize the state's mental health system. One focus, changing the definition of grave disability to include mental health. Mayor Gloria representing a bipartisan coalition of mayors from the state's largest 13 cities. After what appears to be a 6-month hiatus, burglars targeting some of the wealthiest communities in our county are now back on the prowl. The San Diego Police Department's Northwestern Division currently investigating 21 different burglaries reported since December. Back in January of last year, NBC7 first told you about a group of Chilean nationals entering the U.S. on 90-day visas and then using the opportunity to steal from several North County homes. Those crimes linked to dozens across California. Police urging you to stay vigilant. They say make sure you arm your alarm when you leave your house and to use cameras to monitor your home through your smartphones.
Okay, don't go anywhere. The LX News Zone is back again in just 45 seconds. Welcome back to the Zone. We're heading to Hollywood now, really because a lot of people are excited about Creed 3 being released soon. You know, the movie in which Michael B. Jordan directed and starred in. And now he is getting a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Our NBC LA team takes us there.
Hollywood is all about timing, so you see the Creed 3 poster right over there. It opens in just a couple of days, and not coincidentally, Michael B. Jordan, the star, getting his star today on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. The ceremony is scheduled to begin in just about 15 minutes. There you see the podium where Michael B. Jordan, his co-star Jonathan Majors, and also his director in Creed and Fruitvale Station and Black Panther, Ryan Coogler, is going to speak. And right in front of that podium, you can't see it, but the star that they're going to unveil is right in front of that podium. Now, as we move over to the fans and show you some of them, we want to show you a little bit of Michael B. Jordan on the red carpet and the Creed 3 trailer we will show you. Michael B. Jordan, of course, getting here by starting out on TV shows like The Wire and on Friday Night Lights, and then making his film debut in Fruitvale Station, getting a lot of acclaim, directed by Ryan Coogler. Then films like Just Mercy, Black Panther, Without Remorse, and just becoming a global superstar. And you might be able to see beyond these police officers all the fans that have been lined up and getting ready, really, really excited. Of course, a lot of Marvel fans there. You might be able to see a Captain America shield and a Black Panther, some Black Panther paraphernalia as well. Michael B. Jordan also very well known for his philanthropy and for being committed to increasing representation in underrepresented communities in Hollywood, and establishing a new production company that is dedicated in part to just that. So Michael B. Jordan, the star of Creed 3, opening in a couple of days, and incidentally, it's also his directorial debut. It's already getting great reviews, 90+% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I can't wait to see it. Reporting live from Hollywood, Ted Chen, NBC4 News.
I can't wait to see it either, Ted. Thanks for that. Keeping the good vibes going with this next story out of North Texas. Making the Olympic team is almost every athlete's dream, right? And one North Texas figure skater is proof of that. But competing in last year's Winter's Olympics wasn't the end of her story. Turns out she's getting another spin on the world stage. Our NBC Dallas team has her story.
We caught up with Ashley Kane back on the ice in Euless. More than ever, this place where she spent countless hours carving a path to the Winter Olympics warms her soul.
I'm really happy with everything that's going on in my life. I can look back and I know that I had a really great career and I'm really proud of it.
After the Beijing Games, Ashley and her pairs partner Timothy LeDuc retired from competition.
And I knew that when I retired, that I still had so much love and joy for the sport, and I still wanted to be a part of it in some capacity, and this is the perfect opportunity for that.
That opportunity is the Disney on Ice show, Mickey and Friends.
It's a pretty cool job.
She calls it cool, but frozen might be more accurate. You see, Ashley portrays Elsa from the hit Disney movie.
I mean, it's Queen Elsa. It's really powerful. She's a powerful character, and I think a lot of people relate to it when they hear Let It Go, like they're singing at the top of their lungs.
Learning the role of Elsa required the determination of an Olympian.
It was hard. There were some tears, but I have really great castmates that kept me in good spirits and were just like, we know how you feel. Eventually this is going to be so second nature and you're not even going to think about it.
I'm so excited for you going all these places.
I know,
I would love to go.
It's been cool. I knew I wanted to travel. I wanted to see the world.
As part of the overseas tour, Ashley is doing just that and sharing it on Instagram. Here she is at the Grand Mosque in Abu Dhabi, the pyramids of Egypt, the desert of Saudi Arabia, the ruins of ancient Greece. And in a Disney-like plot twist, Ashley is retracing a life-changing journey made by her parents, who also performed with Disney on Ice.
Both of them, right?
Yeah, both of them, and they actually met on tour as well.
There is one thing Ashley misses terribly from her time competing at the top of her sport: Timothy.
I miss them so much. Yeah, it's definitely different, going from spending every single day next to somebody and working toward this one goal and finally accomplishing that goal together and being able to just be proud of your career and kind of sit back and relish in that is really special.
Now Ashley hopes to show a new generation of skaters that fairy tales and Olympic dreams do come true.
Because I know that when I was younger, going to these shows and seeing these skaters, it made me want to be out there. And I hope that I can do that for somebody.
Great story there. You can check that out again on NBCDFW.com. We'll be right back.
Ever since I was a kid in Brooklyn, I knew that this art form had value, that it was important. You walk through and you start to understand, okay, this isn't just vandalism.
Welcome back, everybody. Our last stop is bringing us to Chicago with the family leaving a legacy at the airport. But first, support is growing in a campaign effort to give a local church a special designation.
Renewed push now to turn the Chicago church where Emmett Till's funeral service was held into a national monument. Illinois Senator Tammy Duckworth is reintroducing legislation to preserve Roberts Temple Church in Bronzeville. Tens of thousands attended Till's funeral there in 1955 after he was brutally lynched in Mississippi. And we invite you to learn more about the life and legacy of Emmett Till with our documentary, The Lost Story of Emmett Till Then and Now. It's streaming right now on our website, NBCChicago.com. You can also watch it on Roku and Amazon Fire TV.
And we continue to discover Black heritage here in Chicago. Today, we meet a family that built a legacy on the busy tarmac at O'Hare. Their story proving that not all barriers are broken in the cockpit. Here's Stephen Holt.
How you doing there, young man?
O'Hare has certainly changed a lot over the last 60 years. Just ask the Martins. 3 generations have worked here.
You're retired now, right? Oh, definitely. Awesome.
All ramp agents for United Airlines, handling countless suitcases and getting these giant birds ready for flight in all kinds of weather.
Summertimes, it ain't Florida, but with them airplanes moving around, it's hot out there. That asphalt, you can see the heat rising up off the asphalt.
In the wintertime?
In the wintertime, you can feel the cold rising up off the asphalt.
This family story all started with Montague Sr. back in 1963.
They weren't hiring blacks at O'Hare. They were hiring blacks out on the West Coast and the East Coast long before they hired them at O'Hare Field. And when I got out here, it was a blessing.
It wasn't easy, but in just a few years, Sr. became the second black ramp lead at O'Hare. Still humble, he credits the manager who interviewed him.
He must have saw something in me that he appreciated, and I really appreciated him. And I appreciate him to this day.
Everybody at that time didn't respect men of color working here, you know, but he earned it by the way that he cared for people and the way that he respected people. They gave him that respect in return.
My dad did make history being the second black lead on the ramp. And then you get your sons. I was also a lead at one time. So my son was a lead. You know, that's just good stuff.
A total of 4 Martins have worked on the ramp, son Montague Jr. and grandson Tremaine. Sadly, Jarrell Martin passed away on the job.
I think it's very important that even though Jarrell is no longer with us, he's still with us in heart.
It's clear aviation runs in the family.
Wake up to say I got a job that I love going to, right? It makes it better, it makes the day better, right? It doesn't make it as long.
In this kind of industry, timing is everything. As soon as the plane pulls into the gate, bags have to be taken off, new ones have to be put back on. That's why it's so crucial to have ramp agents like the Martins, because without them, this airline simply doesn't run.
Bags, mail, animals, things that you don't think gonna fit in the airplane, heavy freight. You know, you get it on the belt and the belt stops moving.
What's a good day like down here?
What's a good day when you stay busy?
And it's always busy around here, with bags getting ready to be sent on their way.
Hey, Montague. Hey. How are you? Nice to see you.
But never too busy to stop and say hi to an old friend.
I'm gonna tell you one thing. When I started, it was all male. By the time I left, it was multicultural. I really appreciated that.
Montague Sr. and Jr. are both retired. Now Tremaine carries on his family's legacy at United.
Having him still around too also, and just the wisdom that I get from him, you know what I mean? The stories that I get from him and my father, you know, and the groundwork that they laid as a man, you know, I'm just honored to be a Martin.
Family is very important to the Martins.
All right, and before we turn the page, I have to tell you about a longtime bookseller out of Lakeview. John Chandler owned and operated a bookshop for several decades, but his recent death is leaving his collection of books in limbo. Here's NBC Chicago's V. Wynn.
Day for residents here in Lakeview after learning about the passing of John Chandler. He was the owner of Bookman's Corner for more than 40 years.
He knew where everything was. If you came in for a certain book, he could direct you to it.
Angie Nairn, a longtime customer, stopped by the store this afternoon at Wellington and Clark and couldn't believe what was happening inside.
I'm very sad to see what's going on right now. They should have had a final sale, but maybe it wasn't safe.
A man working inside told NBC5 off camera he was hired to demo the store. Video taken by NBC5 shows piles of books in the garbage being loaded into this U-Haul truck.
There is a lot of books inside, it seems, so I don't know what they're doing, but wanted to come and see if I can get some books.
While this man didn't know the owner personally, he's been to the store before to purchase a couple of books.
I had a few interactions with the owner. He certainly was a character. He was enjoyable to have a conversation with.
Those who knew Chandler say he had a passion for books. His collection grew over the years. His death now devastating for his longtime customers.
He was knowledgeable. He was delightful. He was like the quintessential bookseller, and we will all miss him.
John Chandler's funeral was held last week. He was 87 years old. We have tried to get in touch with his family, but so far we haven't heard back. Reporting in Lakeview, V1 NBC5 News.
Thanks, V. And real quick, you might want to check your lottery tickets because somebody in Chicago just became $1 million richer. We'll see you guys next time here on the LX News Zone.